Hello, and welcome to the Battlefield beta. If you're watching this, I assume that you either suck at tanks or are hoping to learn the ropes for the new game. There's been quite a few changes since the previous one, and we'll be going through that in today's video. We'll be covering some things to get you started, what you should kind of know as like beginner tips, but we'll also be covering a lot of advanced things, and a lot of the changes that have occurred in between, obviously, Battlefield titles. There's been quite a lot of changes since the previous game and ones before that, and so you'll probably want to get to know exactly what the tanks play like in this new one. Again, this is for the beta. I'll probably do an update when we get to the full game release, going over any new items that are added and new equipment and things, because obviously we can't customise tanks just yet. But hopefully we'll have like a nice little loadout system for them, like we did in 5 and 1 and in 2042 obviously. So we'll get started, and the first thing we're going to go and look at is probably, we want to look at survivability and we want to look at the tank's role. So the first thing you're going to need to know with tanks is, and as you can see in the background, we're going to have a video playing here. It's a breakthrough game, and it is a full game. We end up using about, I think, 2 tanks for this to do the full push, but obviously problems can arise. As you've seen there, we've been hit pretty quickly, one after the other, rockets just going into the tank, and we're now heavily damaged. Now, that black box to the right of my tank there, and you can see a little bar filling up on the icon on it, and the friend that we have down there, always give them a little thank you once they've been repairing you. Remember these things, but especially that box. So in the bottom right of the corner, you can now see that you have ammo. Your tank has ammunition. This is not a new feature on Battlefield, this is a returning feature from Battlefield 5. So the attrition system is still in the game for tanks, the idea that you are going to run out of ammo and you've got a finite supply. It isn't in effect for your machine gun. So as you can see, we've got an infinite ammo machine gun, but we've got 20 rounds of tank ammo that we're currently slowly burning through. Now, the tank rounds, so if you want to refill them, that black box that was at our base, and they will always be at your base, right? But that little black box, that is a vehicle resupply point. I really hope they make them more obvious when we get to the full game. But that's a vehicle resupply point. If you've been on Battlefield 5, you'll probably be familiar with them. But standing near them, well, parking near them I should say, we're in a tank, slowly recovers your health. It also recovers your ammo. It does this for your current shell type, and swapping to your other shell type will recover ammo for that. And we'll talk about shell types later. As I say, there are some changes in this Battlefield, some for the better, some for the worse, regarding tanks, but this is the first, right? In addition, you can recover health from engineers, as we did. I believe when the full game releases, one of the engineer skill trees will have the option to have vehicles auto repair while out of combat, which could be quite handy, and maybe something you want to look into if you're going to be playing as a tank crewman rather than a anti-vehicle engineer. So something to consider there, but for now we don't have access to that in the beta. You'll notice here, so we've pushed past the first objective. Something that's going to be quite important, so you'll notice the tank mainly has essentially, it's kind of got 2 roles. It's a mixture of offense and defense. The tank is essentially a giant battering ram for the team with a cannon mounted to the top. If you're playing a tank, especially on breakthrough, then a lot of the pressure is on you, and you will be pushing the team forward through the front lines here. So if your team isn't pushing and breaking through the lines, and you're playing as the tank, yes, it is probably directly your fault for not getting them up there, right? Now, I mentioned, so we're a bit of a battering ram with a big cannon on, and we do offense and defense. Here you see us kind of doing exactly that. On that ridge line, the enemy they've been putting snipers there all since the start of the game. They were shooting us in the previous objective, they've been shooting us now. as a tank, and this is very important if you're new to the game, because I know that on iterations of Call of Duty, for some goddamn reason, you can shoot the tanks. This is Battlefield. Your tank is bulletproof. Please remember this. Some people don't. But if a sniper is shooting you, it isn't going to do a damn thing, right? When it gets to the full game, I believe in Battlefield 2042 and in Battlefield 5 you could get anti-tank rifles as a sniper, but they barely do anything. Most of what you're going to be wanting to watch out for is engineers armed with rockets, as we can see that we're getting hit by here. And right here is a perfect position for the tank, and playing as a tank is, honestly, it's 90% positioning, right? 10% is being a good shot, the rest of it is positioning. So we've pushed up into an area that essentially it's just wide open. Why do we want to be wide open? Because we're a tank. When we're sat in the open, I mean, we're a giant bulletproof block, right? But what it does mean is that enemies can't run up to us from behind cover and, say, plant C4 on us. So being in an open space as a tank, when you're up against infantry, is very useful. If you're up against another tank, you would want to try and probably place some of these boulders between you and its cannon, so that you can kind of peek in and out of cover. But with that not being the case here, our job is to clear that ridge line, make sure that there are no snipers shooting at our guys, and we kind of want to in a perfect world, we want to push forwards. Yeah, in a perfect world, we'll push forwards and kind of sit about exactly where we are here. Because in this position, they cannot get to objective A without going past the tank. That means that we'll have a chance to shoot at them. And they really don't want to give me a chance to shoot at them. So by positioning ourselves there, we've got the ridge line cleared, and we are blocking them from getting to the objective to take it back. We're positioning here, we've moved up to the next vehicle resupply station, so the next base that we take over, the vehicle supply station, it's just behind me on the right. There's the little box there, you can see it. And it's going to be here, and I'm taking advantage of it now because it's, at the moment, it's on a hostile objective, which, well, we're taking. Now it's at our base because it's moved up with it being a breakthrough mode. But it gives me a chance to not just help towards that objective, keep covering objective A, making sure they don't go over to try and recapture it, but it also gives me a chance to quickly resupply while I'm waiting for all this to go, so that then when we go to the next sector I'm ready to go, right? So as I was saying, our job is to push the front lines to make sure that we're drawing the attention of the enemy and that we are absolutely taking every hit that we can instead of our teammates. Without dying, preferably. And we'll get on to the use of smoke in a moment, but yes, so as you can see here, we're going again, we're stopping that sniper, we're making sure that and always prioritise rockets. If someone hits you with a rocket, you fire back immediately. And also notice the use of machine guns here. When we've got something that our machine gun can do, we let the machine gun handle the job. It's got infinite ammo. If we're using less ammo, we don't have to resupply as often. So try to use your machine gun where you can, but if the enemy's coming in and out of cover, as say an engineer would, and you're only going to get a split second to fire back at them, probably use the cannon so that you can one-tap them. The same with snipers, because the moment you start tickling a sniper with your machine gun, because it's not accurate at range, they'll take a hit or two and they'll go back behind cover. You want to make sure you get them once and try to just blow their head clean off. I mean, you are basically moving around with a giant 120mm sniper cannon with an explosion radius on the projectile. You can absolutely just push all the snipers for your team. The use of smoke here, and you've seen a few smoke clouds kicking up now. So when you're looking at smoke as a tank, remember the thing you want to worry about is C4. And we can see another tank here, we'll probably be able to beat him, there we go. The thing with smoke is we want to be very, very careful. So right now I'm not pushing up. A lot of dust kicked up, there's smoke there, and we're already being hit from those houses. My worry is that there's going to be enemies in the ruins to my left. I'm nervous about this. I don't want to push up if there's going to be enemies there, because I don't want to get stuck with C4. Smoke is a very, very good way to ambush a tank. If you're trying to take out a tank and you don't happen to have some rockets, but maybe you've got some C4 and a smoke grenade, you can absolutely make that work. If you're playing in a tank, well, we're tutorialing it here. My advice, don't sit in smoke. Never sit in smoke. You are going to get C4'd. You will always be C4'd in smoke. And you can't really do anything about it. Right? So here we've taken a few hits, we've popped our smoke, and we've retreated. Right? Now remember a few things. One, you have a vehicle boost. This was introduced in Battlefield 2042. It is still here in Battlefield 6. If you push the left stick in while you are moving, you will move your tank at a faster speed. This works in whatever direction you're going in, right? So you can boost the tank backwards, you can boost the tank forwards. If you need to get in or out quickly, do this. It slows your turn rate when you're boosting, but it will help you with getting in and out of the situation. When you retreat, kind of like as we're doing now, we're not retreating just forwards, backwards, we're doing so at a diagonal, down this corner against this tank. But you want to do the same sort of thing when you retreat into smoke. Pop the smoke, retreat, don't go backwards in a straight line. Go at a bit of a diagonal if you can. I mean, if you're in a like narrow street, you can't, but if you can go even just at a slight diagonal, it's very important because the enemy are going to shoot at your last position. So a rocket will probably come through the smoke, going down a straight line through the middle, right? If you're retreating at a diagonal, you'll probably not take a hit. If you're retreating just in a straight line, you probably will, and it might kill you, right? You can also use smoke in offense, so we can place smoke down to help our infantry cover open terrain. So we can drive the tank into the open, pop smoke, and that allows our infantry to cross that terrain to, say, get to an objective. And we could even then sit in front of the smoke, laying down covering fire, attracting all the enemy attention, and then let our infantry have them. This is an interesting one as well. Always look, so here you can see, I can tell where this tank has gone because I've been looking at the plumes of smoke coming from behind the scenery that it was trying to hide behind, right? So in a tank battle, remember, if the enemy runs away, you can follow the smoke coming up from their engine because it sets on fire, and that will guide you to their position. An interesting thing that you could do in Battlefield 5, some of the vehicles in the game have like low velocity cannons. They were more like mortars, like the Churchill and things. You could put a cannon on that were a little snub nose thing, low velocity, and you could arc the shots over cover in some instances. And you could literally shoot a tank that had retreated behind like a building or something by shooting a shell through the windows, and it drop on the other side and blow them up and things. I don't think you'll be able to do that now, because as far as I can tell, there aren't lots of different tank types like there was in in Battlefield 5 and Battlefield 1. It's very much just a case of, you know, you have... In fact, yeah, there were some different vehicle types in 2042, so we might see some, but at the moment there's just the basic tank here. Just your basic main battle tank. And this, obviously, it's a high velocity anti-tank cannon. Now, as we've seen there, so once you're taking objectives, you want to really get in there, sit on the objective, help your infantry, as we've been doing with the others, and literally you can just squat on an objective and just use the weight of the vehicle and be like, look, if you want this, you have to come and get me. It's very funny. Anyway, we're trying to go back now to get to A. We're coming in from the rear, and we're thinking, okay, we're going to be able to shoot from the back here and get them from this end while our infantry comes from the base and gets them from the front. But unfortunately, I hadn't quite been paying attention to my tank's health. Don't make this mistake yourself. I think in previous games, sometimes now, usually like a warning siren, and obviously smoke comes out of the tank when it's low on health. I think the minimum threshold for this at this point is somewhere below like a quarter or something of your tank's health left. Which means before the warning signs even kick in telling you that you're at low health, you actually get to a point where you're one-shottable by the enemy, right? I'm hoping this gets fixed after the beta maybe, but yes, at the moment you can somewhat easily lose track of your health. Those warnings used to kick in a bit earlier, but as for now though, we have unfortunately lost our tank. But, having taken another sector, it respawns and we're ready to go. So, back in. Now, that covers most things. I'll quickly go over as well just how to fight an enemy vehicle as well. Now this used to be a bit more tactical in the previous games. And I think it was in Battlefield 5 that this was last in. It was in Battlefield 1 and Battlefield 5. But it's not been in the game since. I'll just absolutely flatten that little truck there. As I say, always use a machine gun here. To do what if your machine gun will get the job done, use the machine gun. You don't need to use the cannon. You can also use the machine gun in between shots, so if you hit someone, like maybe you fire at a sniper but it doesn't kill them or something, you can fire some rounds down with the machine gun in the hopes of finishing them. Obviously here we move back from the smoke, using the smoke again to cover our retreat. We come at a slight diagonal. Well, not brilliant because that we can't quite get over the rubble on the left, but the brow of the hill should help cover most of the tank anyway from any incoming fire that might be trying to finish us off. The smoke as well will break any lock-ons as well. It's like infrared smoke, so it'll break any lock-ons on the vehicle. But as I was saying, so fighting other vehicles. So on Battlefield 1 and Battlefield 5 you could angle your armour. If you played War Thunder or World of Tanks you'll be familiar with this. Where if they hit you at a diagonal on your armour, it would prevent things from passing through and dealing damage to you, which is how tanks realistically work. If you try to penetrate through a block of metal at a diagonal, then there's effectively more metal to go through because the distance between you getting through it is long because you're travelling through it diagonally. It's a weird thing that is actually accurate to real life, but it's no longer in the game. So as far as I've been able to tell, and this is just like anecdotal if I'm just shooting things while I've been going around, I've not noticed any more damage done whether I shoot enemies in the front, sides or rear of the vehicle. Things just seem to do a set amount of health. I managed to get stuck on the scenery here as well, but again using that smoke, pulling back out of it to make sure we're not getting C4'd. And then obviously there we couldn't keep retreating and we couldn't keep it a diagonal. We hit that bit of a cliff behind us and we're getting stuck on like these cars and shipping crates and things here. And that did allow an extra rocket to go into us. But the things that you can do though against an enemy vehicle, because since these things aren't in the game anymore, there's no like directional damage to the vehicles as far as I can tell. There's no longer armor angling or anything. It very much seems to be who's getting repaired by an engineer in the background. Combined with then basically who shot first or had less health when the fight started. There's not a lot that you can do about it. It's probably going to come down to your teammates and like engineers and things backing you up in these fights now, and there's not a lot you can do yourself. But there is one thing that I can give you as a tip, and this also comes into kind of sort of your survivability and how long you can stay in the fight for, kind of all tapped into that again. Now you'll notice in the bottom right, we're currently loading a shell, we've got 2 shells left, and you can notice there's a bar filling up. So we're going to talk about shells and shell types, just to finish off here with. So the shells and shell types, you now have, well, you have access to them, and you can swap between up to 2. We'll see at launch what's available, and not just that, but other equipment and things like that, and what these shells do exactly. At the moment, I believe it's the MPAT and the HE shells. I think MPAT is something on the lines of like multi-purpose anti-tank or something. But it's armor piercing basically. It's an AP round. I've not noticed any difference in damage firing at other tanks between this and high explosive, but the high explosive has a radius around it, so it's like you're firing a grenade at them, right? Hits, whatever it hits is dead, but everything within a small circle around where the blast goes off is also probably going to be turned into a fine paste, right? The armor piercing, true to how armor piercing works, doesn't do this. What it will do is it's more like firing a dart. So it is much closer to like a sniper round really, a great big 120mm sniper round. But essentially, you fire the armor piercing rounds, and they are, as far as I'm able to tell, I think they're higher velocity than the high explosives. And again, there we go, I've popped the smoke, retreated at a diagonal, and now positioned myself in cover behind several indestructible objects. I'm still going back now. I'm trying to get back to the start here, where maybe I can find a teammate to hopefully repair me. And someone does, someone comes over and we're getting repaired, very nice. Always thank your engineers. And so the thing to keep in mind though is, okay, they give you some bonuses, these shells. One's got that explosive radius, the other's got higher velocity and is therefore better and easier to aim at long distances, but doesn't have that radius. Again, I've not noticed any damage difference, but presumably I would still probably use the anti-tank against tanks. If nothing else, simply because that, and as you can see, we're loading a shell now. We only have 4 high explosive shells left, right? We've got 4. We've swapped over to the anti-tank, we've now got another 16 loaded, right? When you're out of ammo, like fully out of ammo, you do sort of recover it back slowly, and it's very slowly, and you have enough to kind of get you through a battle with a tank before you run out. But if say you came across like 2 enemy vehicles, or you had to blow up a lot of infantry in quick succession or something like that, you could quickly find yourself running out of shells here, and oftentimes you'll then end up, the last thing you want is to end up in a tank fight when you've only got a machine gun. So try to use the armor piercing for enemy vehicles, because you've got like 20 of those and 20 high explosives. Right, you can't be using your armor piercing against infantry, it really doesn't work. Whereas your high explosives, so you're kind of saving that basically for the infantry. But in addition, it's also the right tool for the job and all that. But mostly, as long as you stick to kind of just trying to use your machine gun where you can, like we're trying to do here. If your machine gun can get the job done, use the machine gun. If you need your shells, use your shells. And remember to use high explosives for infantry, armor piercing for tanks. Watch your ammo count. You do, like I say, you do recover your ammo, but you only recover, like I said, to 4 or 5. So you could be carrying like 5 high explosives, 5 armor piercing. That's your lot, and you'll get by on it. But you'll have to be very, very frugal with what you've got. Anyway, again here, we're rocking up, we're using smoke to cover our retreat and also allow our infantry to push in. We're getting right up in on the objective. While, like I say, your job is to provide cover, get rid of enemies that are shooting down on your men, it is also, again, to act as a battering ram. Right? You are there to push. That is your job. You are there to get everyone else the hell out of the way because you're a tank and you're going to smash them. Right? And so we're literally trying to get up on the objective here. Sometimes objectives aren't designed for you to really drive a vehicle onto, but... and we've found another vehicle resupply here and I'm trying to use it before the end, but... we'll probably win before we get any shells loaded. It does take a while as well. It doesn't fully restock you in one go. It takes several. That's the main change, I'll be honest, to the vehicle gameplay in this one. That and the loss of, like, angling your armour and things. I believe you also can't get vehicle critted anymore. But I say that, I have been disabled sometimes when vehicles have hit me, and I think that's the new vehicle crit system, that sometimes your tank just becomes disabled if it takes, like, a certain amount of damage quickly. And you just find yourself unable to move for, like, a couple of seconds, but that's about it. Anyway, we're coming top. No, it's been partly damaged or something, because it shouldn't. Like, what the hell? Like, just suddenly, boom, boom, dead. Like, I have no idea what the hell that was. I had like zero, like full to zero, it seemed.